Hey everyone, my name is Prasenjit Sahu, and I just want to formally welcome everybody to Unleash You at Sai Baba Bolivar. This year, 2023-2024, will be held in person, and some of you might be thinking, did I come into the wrong classroom? If you're here for the ACT SAT, you're in the completely right spot. This thing is that I call this Unleash You because you learn more than just ACT SAT. You learn about livelihood in high school. You learn about how college works. You learn about what your career path looks like, so on and so forth. So just to say it was ACT SAT or college prep seemed really, really constrictive. So that's why I'm going to call this class now Unleash You. All right. So let's do a quick table of contents, what you're going to expect real quick. We're going to go over a more in-depth introduction, I guess you could say, and then a little bit of the statistics. Is this class even for you, right? Majority of you are freshmen, 11 students are freshmen. We've got 4 students that are sophomores, and then the 3 students that are juniors, right? So is this class right for you right now? All right, the number at slide 7, we're going to take a year at glance. We're going to have a class that is gamified this year. I did this my first time when I taught this class, and then the second time I wasn't able to due to lack of individuals attending. So this year, just to bring that spirit back in, we're going to have a gamified classroom. So I'll go into a little bit of detail as to what that means. Number 9, you're going to figure out what you'll need for this class, right? You're taking ACT, SAT courses. You're going to need something, right? So what is that? And last but not least, I'm going to give you a little bit more in depth about my services that I offer as a paid service on the side, which might be helpful for you guys, especially if you realize, oh, this might not be for me, or maybe I need something more personalized, maybe I need something faster, so on and so forth. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk a little bit about myself. Hey, I'm Prasenjit Sahu. I'm an undergraduate researcher here at The Ohio State University. I'm also a student. I'm majoring in neuroscience this year, and I love learning how the brain, or how we as humans learn, right? And that's a field called metacognition. So meta meaning uh, being about the subject, and then cognition is thinking. So thinking about thinking or learning about learning. And I could talk about this topic for hours. So um, yeah, if you have any questions on how to optimally strategize yourself to learn the best, that's what we're here for, right? And I'll be using those key ideas to help us throughout the ACT SAT. Also, I'm a private tutor, semi-private tutor, a teacher, and I've been teaching at Bolivar for 4 to 5 years now. And I'm becoming more of a creator nowadays. I've become creating a book, creating more videos, creating an application. So there's a lot more that's going on in my life. So um, I'm still making time for you guys, but just like I am valuing you guys when you come to this class, I want the same commitment from you guys. Um, as you can see, there's a lot on my plate. So when I'm here, I want you to be with me there in the classroom. All right. If I'm not available in the classroom, there will be these types of formats where I'll just post them to YouTube. I'll post them wherever we need to get them out. And you'll just be sitting in the classroom, just watching it together, writing any questions down, writing any thoughts down, so on and so forth. We'll go more in detail later. All right. So a couple more things. My credentials. I'm a 99th percentile scorer from the ACT. On top of that, with the writing section, um, on top of that, and I think this is the most important thing as a teacher, I have the ability to distill complex ideas and strategies, right, into tangible result producing skills. That is the value I'm providing to you as a teacher, right? This is probably by far the most important thing a teacher can do. One, if not one of the most important things. All right. The next thing is that I've taken this like complex thing, the ACT, right? It's literally something that a lot of people are burdened with, and I've made it super simple through an approach that I've built. It goes based on content, practice, and then revision. 3 steps, right? And then last but not least, I will be here with you every step of the way, right? Once we get started, we're going full send on this. So let's keep going, all right? So obviously, I don't want you to just take it from me, but you know what? Let's check out my statistics, okay? So this was 2 years ago, and you can see the national statistic. The average score is a 20, all right? The average score increase is a 1.3, all right? My statistics, however, was an average score of 28, which was in the 91st percentile, right? So this is an average. Some people got higher, some people got lower, some people got right around this area. For those who are very concerned in statistics, the median was around the same area, 27 to 29, somewhere there. The average score increase was also 7 points. Median 5 to 7 points. Somewhere around there, and that means we're taking people from average, which is literally 20 points, to 28. So we're going literally from 50th to the 91st percentile. So that's a pretty big accomplishment, and that's something I want to see done again this year, if not better, right? I think this gamified nature of the class will bring forth that idea. All right, so now that you know a little bit about me, a little bit about what the past of the class has been like, what they've been scoring, what does the future look like for us? What does this next year look like? Now, obviously, before we even get to that, we have to figure out, is this class even right for you, right? So there's a lot on the screen, but let me distill it down for you. So the first thing is, what are the contents of this class? This is an ACT course. There will be no SAT, and yes, we did teach it before, but now that it's in person, we will not be teaching SAT because that would be too much to focus on. Additionally, if you were to take the ACT, I believe strongly, and from what I've seen through trial and error, through my students, so on and so forth, those that I've private tutored, those that I've done through this program, is that once you get a good grasp on the ACT, the SAT is a no-brainer, all right? The ACT has time constraints, which are much shorter than the SAT. And on top of that, there are, in my experience, I've seen the ACT have harder math as opposed to the SAT. So overall, those are things you're going to have to think about. So you guys will see that I'm at this location. I'm actually at the Ohio State University, so that's why you'll see people going behind me right now. Yeah, it's a really nice day, so I just wanted to record out here. Anyways, getting back on topic. Yeah, so there's English, mathematics, reading, science, and writing section. The writing section is optional. For the SAT, however, it's reading, writing in language, and mathematics. So the science is actually embedded into the other sections. If that makes sense, we're just going to go ahead and move on. Here's the thing. To know if this class is right for you, you must understand how the test is made. The test is made by taking a easy concept, twisting it around and manipulating it to make it a difficult question, tricky question, we'll say. Not difficult, tricky, okay? And then with one objective answer, right? So that means if you ever get yourself into a situation where it's like, oh, I think it's this or this, right? That can't be right because it must be objective. There must be something wrong with one of those multiple choices, right? And this is something we can capitalize on. So maybe you're like, what do you mean by easy, going into a tricky question? All right, let me give you a quick example then. All right, let's say if I asked you to do straight up multiplication, right? If I asked you to do 18 times 8, right? That's super simple, right? That's like what? 80, 64, so 144. Yes, 144. So that's super simple. Now, if everybody got that type of question on the ACT, everyone would get 100%. Everyone would get that perfect score, right? So what we want to do is make it a little bit more tricky, and this is in the mindset of the ACT, the people who make the ACT. Let's change it so it's a little bit trickier, okay? So that they have to figure out that this is the simplified version, okay? So a trickier version of this question would be, Melinda is building a garden that is 18 feet by 8 feet. What is the total area she needs to get? Total area of the plot she's getting. Something like that. Something simple like that, right? You can add on another layer, right? You can add on, let's say, how much soil is she going to need if the depth is 2 feet long, right? Stuff like that, right? So 144, then you'd multiply by 2, right? So being able to take those tricky questions and distilling them into some sort of simplified version is what you're trying to do on these math sections, English questions, reading, science, and even writing sections, all right? Now, each section also has certain time constraints. And like I said earlier, they're shorter than the SAT. Most of these questions should be able to be solved in 30 seconds or less. Easy questions, 10 seconds, right? If they're super hard, the flexibility that you gave because of the 30 seconds or the 10 seconds will flow into the hard questions and you'll be able to solve those easier, right? So being flexible, timing, so on and so forth are not things that I'm going to be worried about right off the bat. What I'm going to be worried about is the content. Do you know the content? And then moving forward. So like if you're a freshman, if you're a sophomore, right? Why are you taking this class, right? If you take a look at it and you really ask yourself and you're truthful to yourself, it will distill down to two aspects. The first, either it's your parents, right? Or you're actually ahead in school, and tell you what ahead means, and you're ready content wise. So what does that actually mean? Ready content wise and you're ahead. How do I know, right? So the ACT, again, because it's objective, we can capitalize on this. So there must be a certain range where it goes up to test people's knowledge. Now, let's say, for example, if I was a student in AP Calc BC, right, and there was another student all the way across the country that was still in pre-calc, right, and pre-calc is the necessary for graduation requirements usually, then you think it's fair for ACT to ask calculus questions? No, right? It's not objective because you're not testing, is this a person able to do well in college, right? This test is very much necessary for college readiness to test if you are ready for college, all right? So it's not going to be worthwhile if you don't know what the subject is and you're going to be tested like that. So being ahead in this case means like you're taking junior level courses essentially. So what does that mean? That means you're either starting pre-calc, honors pre-calc, whatever. Uh, you've done enough math. You're very comfortable with math essentially to be able to learn on the fly. Um, and then English would be like 2 to 3 years of English, because that allows for you to know all the grammar rules. That allows you to know how people think, and like a good book. If you read a lot of books, you're probably fine for the reading in the English section. Now, for the science, I am going to say that there is um, no bar in this one because it's literally like finding Waldo. That's the thing I was taught. So basically, what you're gonna do is you're gonna get the test, and all you're gonna do is find Waldo. You're gonna find where the information matches in the passage, or where the information is given in the passage, and then just match it with the answer. So it's really not difficult. Honestly, if we were in middle school, right, super easy. We could literally teach this to a middle schooler. All right. And then last but not least, writing. So I would say about 1 to 2 years of writing, right? English, that helps in the writing section. Because what a lot of people haven't done at this stage is they haven't written a lot, or they haven't written a lot of good writing, right? Good writing is different from just long, blurred out, blurted out language, right? So we need to figure out how to get good writing into your skin. Okay. However, so as the level of ninth and 10th grade, if you are just taking regular classes, if you're the average student, you are not ready for this right now. Okay. In fact, there are so many other better things you can do with your time. This hour that you're giving to me, I would say there's a better way of using it. All right. And this is usually where like many times you have parents who don't know about the like education system here come into play, right? Now, um, here's the thing: you have to be grateful that your parents are doing this, because there are just as many parents who don't care, don't know about uh, their child's like education, right? So the fact that your parents are like concerned or thinking about it, it means that education is a priority for them, right? If education is a priority, that means you're going to do well academically, right? At some level, right? Whatever that stage is for you. Now, here's the issue though. When this is a pressure, it can lead to burnout, and it can lead to burnout really fast. And this is a negative when you come into like sophomore, junior year, when it really does matter that you get your score, right? At that point, like if you scored a 20 or 25, right? If you get burnt out, you're not gonna score because you're all you're gonna think is like, let's just give it up, right? So it doesn't matter where you go, who you're learning from, right? You're gonna get burnt out, right? And I've seen this time and time again. So like if your parents are still hounding you about ACT, SAT, you're not focusing, so on and so forth, there are more underlying issues. So that's something we can talk about personally, privately, on like an academic advising, something I'll talk about at the end. But during this time, I don't want you to burn out, right? So rather, what I'll ask you to do is find your avenue, right? Find the way you can make an impact on yourself, your community, um, and how you can move forward with that, right? So for some, that might be, hey, I'm not taking Algebra 2 this year. Let me self-study Algebra 2, maybe test out the next year, and then be ready for this class, right? That's a fine idea, maybe it's like you're trying to be a doctor one day, right? So my thing is like I'm pre-med studying neuroscience. Okay, let me take anatomy, or let me study something by myself, right? Let me study cellular mechanisms by myself, and then move forward with that. Let me go think more about my science fair projects. Let me go think more about science bowls, competitions, so on and so forth, right? You need experience, which is not something you have as a freshman and sophomore. That is completely fine. Go out and seek those experiences. One last thing I'll say is the GPA and the ACT or the SAT score you get, for that matter, um, are only going to open the doors to which colleges you can apply to, right? Like a 36 will open the doors to basically all the schools, but you also need a good GPA to balance out with that. So you can't have like a 2.0 GPA and a 36. That admission, like, can you imagine the admitting team at that college? Like, they're going to be like, what, right? So there needs to be some cohesive story that's built into it. So you've got a good score, you've got a good GPA, right? That opens up a lot of doors. Now, if you had like let's say a 20, right? You're probably not going to get into like the Ivy Leagues or maybe even the public schools, right? Because a 20 is more like community college, right? So community college, that's the only open doors you have. So the higher the score, the more options you have, and you always want to go for a little bit more options than less options, right? Because you can always narrow down your options. You can't always expand your options. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So if you're ahead in school and you're ready content wise, like you know what's on the English exam, English portion, the mathematics, the reading, the science, and the writing, then honestly, the next question is, are you willing to commit, right? As you guys know, and I said this a little bit earlier, I'm spending about an hour during class and then multiple hours outside of class for this. Uh, Multiple hours outside of class to create videos, to create presentations, to do all these things. Now, if there is commitment, that's going to be a great place for me and you to thrive, right? Not only are we like surviving, right? We're surviving to get to the next week or something like that. We're actually thriving. We're making progress. We're building forth something, right? So, what does your commitment look like? All we're asking is 1 week on 1 hour on one day per week, Saturdays, right? Now, if you have clubs that happen during the spring, think about it. Is that the commitment you can have? Is this a commitment you can have? Is this a commit? If you are struggling with fall sports, right? If you have not struggling, but if you have fall sports, is this a commitment you can have, right? Um, so those are questions you're going to have to ask yourself, right? 1 hour um, for the class itself, and then time outside to finish homework, time outside to finish assignments, tests, exams, quizzes, whatever it is, right? Um, and commitment's hard when the class isn't fun. All right, I get that. I totally get that. So I don't intend on making this class like absolutely boring, right? So I'm gonna make this class as fun as possible, and because of that, I'm gonna need your guys' help, and I'm gonna give you guys what you need, right? So we're gonna make it fun. We're gonna have fun, and we're gonna build forth with that. All right. So capiche on the commitment. All right. If you realize this is not for you, that's completely fine. No one's gonna like shame you or anything like that. And honestly, I would have more respect for you to realize, hey, this is not in my capabilities, because that awareness that people have is not really built in the high school level, because a lot of people haven't worked on themselves to know that awareness. So if you realize, hey, this might not be for you, or maybe you need a little bit more time so that we can talk about it, right? Maybe like 5-10 minutes. If we talk about it, I can clarify something, right? We can do that something after class, or before class, so on and so forth. So let's figure out that time and space. All right. Um, cool. So commitment, we're doing well. All right. If we're doing well on commitment, we're doing well on like where we need to be for this class. Then you know what? Let's get started, right? So welcome to Unleash You. All right, so now that we've decided that, hey, yeah, this is the class for me, let's figure out what we're going to do. So the first entire semester will be based around content, learning, and testing, right? So we're just learning content, and then we're going to test. You're going to have a midterm during December, and then you'll probably have more tests during the spring semester. During spring, this is what we call office hours. So um, basically you'll be coming to me with questions, right? You'll be doing a test, that will be your assignment or homework, and then you'll be coming back to me and you'll be saying, I missed XYZ, here are my issues were, tell me how to fix them. And I will legitimately tell you how to fix them. If I don't know, I don't know. But I will come back to you and tell you how to fix them the week after, right? I'll figure out what it needs to be. All right, so that's office hours. At the same time, you're also going to be helping me write this one book that I'm working on. So right now I have two books. Um, not on sale, not public yet, but basically they will be going into the mindset of all these different aspects of like mathematics or how to take the ACT, right? Something you'll be getting nearly right off the bat. I want to make a workbook instead because I've realized that people, or not people, but like testing companies have these systems and books written, but not necessarily for getting the most in the least amount of time, right? When they teach you math, they teach you from the bare basics and then build you up, which is great. But how many of the people don't know that, right? If you have those needs, there are better videos. There are great videos to teach you how to do those things as opposed to reading a textbook, right? And honestly, sometimes when you watch YouTube, you get it like that. It makes sense right away. So there are different resources for those. But for example, like matrices, like that's a topic in mathematics, right? Um, that's not something that is taught well in those textbooks. This is something that can be done on the calculator, in fact. Like if I have my TI-84, I can plug this into my calculator and get the answer right away. And I don't need to worry about it for the exam, right? These are the things we need to have in the market. So you'll be helping me in constructing a workbook for math, English, reading, science, right? And we'll be working through that together. And then on the side, we'll also have a lot of college prep. Throughout this time, it's not just um, come to class, do ACT, SAT, let's move on. No, we'll have a personal one-on-one connection, me to you, right? So we'll be doing ACT, SAT. We'll also be talking about life. How do you navigate through life? Now, obviously, I'm like, not like 50, 30, 40 or something like that, right? So you don't have to worry about me lecturing you guys, but rather I'm going to ask you to think about what you're doing right now, right? I'm not going to tell you what to think. Rather, I'm going to tell you how to think. And I think that is going to be more useful to you, right? Like, for example, there's that one analogy which goes, you don't tell a man who is, okay, there are two fishermen sitting by the pond, right? One person gets the fish and he's about to leave, and the other guy goes, hey, how did you get the fish? So here's two things he could have done, right? Here's two options. He has two options. The fisherman that's being asked has two options. You either give him the fish and say you're done, right? Or you teach them how to fish, right? And the goal for me is to teach you how to fish as opposed to giving you the fish, right? I'm not going to teach you do this, do XYZ, do this, right? I'm going to tell you why I'm doing XYZ and here's this thought process. But what do you think? And how are we going to go through this, right? How are you going to go through this? So on and so forth. I can be your guiding light, but you must take the steps forward. Does that make sense? I love that philosophy, and that's something that I try to cherish throughout this time. All right. Um, College prep. Yeah, just talk about life. How do you work through college? What does a college application cycle look like? Right. That's college prep. What does it look like for careers? What do I want to do in the future? What is the meaning of life? I took this great course called Death and the Meaning of Life. Right. So these are all different like things we can talk about. Right. Oh, and I took this course because I'm minoring in math and philosophy. I don't know if I said that earlier, but um, it literally I can touch on any topic throughout STEM or STEAM for that matter. And yeah, so I can talk to you about a lot of things. All right, so moving forward now. All right, we've got again this idea of having fun, right? When we're studying, when we're learning, a lot of people equate that to school and they say school is not fun. Okay, all right, I didn't have that experience because I had this thing where I was very curious. All right, like Curious George. All right, uh, but no, I was very curious, and so I kept learning and learning and learning, and I just enjoyed this aspect of learning. When you get those aha moments, when everything clicks, and they still click to me for these simple topics sometimes. Um, like it makes so much sense, and it's just like I don't know, some nectar. Okay, um, like a couple of days ago, I was thinking about like arithmetic progressions. I was teaching a kid, and for some reason, it never clicked in my brain that you could literally put those into the form of a linear equation, as in like you could graph those, right? Because every time you see those questions, and they're like, what's the next number in the sequence? What's the eighth term in the sequence? What's the sum of these sequence numbers, right? And you never get that like integration with other concepts, right? So I didn't even have that like idea that you could graph in an arithmetic sequence, right? Until like a couple weeks ago, right? And that's for me, that's like super sad, but at the same time, like gratifying because like now I do have it, right? So my goal is to get you guys those experiences here, right? This class will not be taught just like here's this idea, here's this idea, here's this idea. No, we'll be taking an idea, we'll be trying to figure out how to connect. Take another idea, how it connects. Take another idea, how it connects, right? And when we build those connections, that's what's gonna fuel your understanding of all these topics. That's what's actually being tested on the ACT. That's what's actually getting you ready for college. All right. We'll go more in depth into what it looks like to be ready for college as well later on. All right, so what is this gamified class, right? So this is an approximate distribution of the class. I'm not sure how accurate this is, but just based on the roster, I think this is accurate. Um, and then the other thing is that I want to kind of do this in a game show style. So no, this is not The Bachelorette or The Bachelor or anything like that. It's just like two silhouettes of a woman and a man. All right. Now, here's the thing. Each week, and if you've done AP Chem, this is kind of similar to the ChemCat, but the idea is that not each week, but each um, section that we go through, we will have someone who's crowned as the best scorer and someone who's crowned as the most improved, right? When we have those two, these are things you guys are gonna get like either a stuffed animal for, or you're gonna get the crown. We're still figuring out what we want to do. I'll throw in like something in the Google form to see what you guys want. Something we can hold on to and pass around, right? Just to show, hey, everyone's doing great. The other thing is that I do want this to be some sort of game show style. I haven't thought of what the idea is going to be yet, but whatever it's going to be, there's going to be something where you're going to have to survive, all right? And whoever has the most points or is the survivor is going to be the winner. So they're also going to get some sort of crown or like stuffed animal or so on and so forth, right? And then when you have those like crown or stuffed animal, you're gonna take a quick picture, and that's gonna like be cemented not only inside all of your heart, right, but also like something I'll keep personally, right? Just so like I have some memento from the class. All right. And then last but not least, there you'll see a list of dates here on the side, the right hand side. The first date for the ACT is September 9th. You guys will not be ready for that at all. All right. But if you're looking for a faster option to doing the ACT, that will be you're much better taking it like December as opposed to October. Um, However, both of them you're not going to get the full in depth of the course. All right. By February 10th, we should have like not by February, but like January, right? End of January, we should have the full length of the test. All right. I would like each and every one of you to schedule for this test. All right. This is a $50 commitment. All right. To take the test. Right. And because you're showing up each week, because you're ready to go, right? And you're ready, hey, I'm going to take this test on this day. This is what we're working towards. We have a clear goal that we can work towards, right? All right, so that's going to be February 10th, 2024. I would like you guys, this is a part of the commitment, right? Can you guys sign up for this class? All right, if you've signed up for this class, assuming you're ready, either ahead or you're ready, and you're willing to commit, the next step is commit to the test, right? This is some goal. This is something you can strive towards, okay? All right. So this is February 10th, 2024. The other dates we have is April 13th, June 8th, and July 13th. Now, by the time it's June, we'll already be out. So April 13th will be the last time. But truly, how much time do you really need for AC prep? Great question. 2 to 3 months at most, okay? So for me to expand this class out to a semester or a year long is really hard endeavor. Now, and you might be wondering like, but I need more time. I guarantee you probably don't. You're either not ready for the class or yeah, you're probably just not ready for the class, right? Because for example, the MCAT, which is like one of the exams for the med school, right? And this is an exam that you sit for 8 hours, all right? An 8 hour exam that you sit for, and people study for that for like 3 to 4 months, right? If that's 3 to 4 months, there's no way you guys should be taking more than 1 to 2 or even 3 months to study for this exam, okay? But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be expanding this out significantly so that each week we come in with some idea and then we're going to just bulldoze through that. Cool? All right. September 9th, October 28th, December 9th, February 10th. Please sign up for this test date. Now, you might be like, but what if I don't get the score I want? You don't have to send it, right? If you don't get the score you want, don't send it. Don't send it to colleges. They have this, and I think this is a gimmick in my opinion, but ACT.org does this thing, and so does College Board for the SAT, where you can send your scores early for free, right? And I think that's absolute rubbish. Instead, take the additional $10, $15 and send in the score you're happiest with, okay? There's no reason for you to send in multiple scores, so on and so forth. In fact, some people have lost a good chunk of their scholarship just by doing this fact, all right? So definitely don't send in the score when they have that gimmick period where it's like, you can send it in for early. Just take a couple seconds and just say, okay, you know what? I don't need to send it in right now. Let me think about if I want to do another run, run it back, and then do another test, or so on and so forth. And then which colleges do I want to send it to, so on and so forth. So then that's like a plus $15, $20. Okay, that's totally worth it because you're probably going to end up getting more in scholarships at that point, right? Something like that, right? All right, so that's gamified class. All right. Finally, now you know a little bit about me. You know about the structure of the class. You know me about teaching. You know what you're expected throughout the class. What do you need? All right, you'll need index cards, and you'll need an index card holder. And the reason I say this is because the amount of notes that you take during these concepts that we're going to talk about are going to be very minimal. Many people come down with a notebook. They're going to dictate everything I write. That's not how I want this to run. I'm going to have you take index cards, and on the reverse side, we're going to write down points for a big cheat sheet at the end, right? So right now, what you're going to grab is a set of index cards. Whether you want them to be blank, whether you want them to be lined on one side, or whatever, up to you guys, right? I wish they honestly had like graphing index cards. That would be really neat, and some sort of business should capitalize on that. All right, future business idea right here. All right, get an index card holder because you want to hold on to those and have them in a safe spot. You're going to be bringing those in every single week. All right, you're going to bring a pencil, a pen. I think that's self-explanatory. Graphing calculator. Now on the next page, I'll show you which graphing calculator you want, but we're primarily going with the TI-84. Color edition is nice. If you have the regular one, that's fine. Next, and then anything other than that, usually you have to check if is it okay for the ACT, and this will set you back like $100-ish. You're like, whoa, $100? I don't even make money, Preston G. Okay, well, this is something you should invest in, and your parents would, most likely your parents would be gladly investing in this, because this is a tool that you use throughout high school, especially in Central Ohio. All right, so graphing calculator. Okay, number 5 is you need a good book at all times. Each week I'll be coming in to class and you better have some book, all right? And if you don't read a lot, you know what? There's this quote that I love. It goes to start like to love to read, right? You got to read books you love. All right. So for you to love the activity of reading, start with books you love to read. All right. So what I want is a good book, a book that you would eagerly try to finish. All right. And this is going to help us for the reading section, the English section. So each week I'm going to come in. Everybody, hold up your books. All right. I'm going to take a look, quick peruse, see what everyone's reading, and then another week I'm going to ask you to not another week, but maybe a couple months later, hey, let's test out a different genre, right? And we're going to move through with that. Does that make sense? All right. Number 6, yes, this is kind of supposed to be humorous, but yes, you do need your brain. If you understood the idea of how much awareness you brought to yourself, your lifestyle, all aspects of your relationships with people, to your academics, to this class, ACT, SAT prep, you do 10 times better, guaranteed. And I'm just pulling a number from thin air, but like you do really good, right? At least 2x, okay, of what you do now, just because you brought in like 5 to 10% awareness of what you're doing right now, okay? So please do bring your brain to class. So that means, all right, it's a class that starts 10 or 11, right? And if that's the case, then you need to make sure you're not like tired, drowsy, so on and so forth. And honestly, a bit of that is making sure the class is fun. So I will take responsibility for that, but I need you guys to step up to the plate and take responsibility for things you can be responsible about. All right? All right. The next thing is TI-84 Plus CE. CE is color edition, so if you want the colorized version and the thinner version, then I would go for this one. I personally had both of them. Funny story. But I lost this back in sophomore year of high school. And yeah, that was a whole talk with my parents. But then they got me this one, and I got the gold version, so that was kind of neat. And honestly, it stuck with me till this entire time. Honestly, at this point, my friends have started like saying, you know what, I don't know where my calculator is. Can I use yours? Also because I have so many programs on this. Like once you've like built programs, once you've started figuring out how to code on this, it's such a powerful tool. All right. All right. So that's stuff you need. Let's just quickly just show you where you've come from in this class so far. All right, we're Unleash You now, okay? Table of contents, a little bit about me. Here's where the statistics are, all right? Again, my goal is for you to do just as well or even better, okay? And I will get you there if you walk with me. Now, genuinely take the next week and think, is this class right for you? If it's not, or if you're questioning, let me know. Let's have a quick chat. Let's figure it out, right? And then we can schedule something like academic advising, which I'll talk right now in a few seconds. And then we can figure out what you want to do. Here's the plan for the next year. We're going to gamify this class. Please sign up for the February 10th, 2024 test. What you will need. I did not write this down, but there's this application called UWorld. And UWorld is, in my opinion, the best thing for a standardized prep test. All right, I used it for ACT. I use it now for MCAT. So for the ACT, I would say it even get like I would probably go as far as saying like if you use my methods and you actually do the work earnestly, a 30 is easy guarantee. All right, a 30 is a very easy guarantee for those who do my strategies. If you're ready for this class, if you've committed, you do the work earnestly, a 30 is no brainer. Okay, so if that's the case, then and you'd like to actually take this forward, maybe I'll start requiring it for a bunch of people or for the class during the time we get closer to February. Okay, so that would be a month or 2 months or even 3 months away, right? So like maybe November, December. All right, we're going to talk about UWorld and we're going to talk about why it's so good, what you can do to use it right now. Okay. All right, what will you need? Okay, we've covered UWorld, very important. All right, next thing, TI-84, calculator. Please bring this to class. Bring your book to class, index cards, your brain, paper, and pencil. All right, great. All right, so last but not least, this is a little bit about myself and my services. So I have my website, which is right here, Preston G. It's a Wix website, and the big idea is that I am here for you. All right, all you have to do is reach out. And then what I'll do is I'll guide you on the path, and then you'll walk the path, essentially, right? I can't walk the path for you because obviously, I'm not in high school anymore. But you can't bring a horse to the well, and like you can tell it all you want to drink, but the horse must drink by itself, right? So using that analogy, you must realize that you have to do the work. But feel free to reach out. I'm here for that. All these are paid services. Um, so I have personalized semi-private ACT prep. All right, I'm getting students in for September 9th right now. Then I'll probably have another couple of people go in for the November, October, depending on who hears me out. Um, currently, we have. Currently, I don't know how many students I've had. I've probably had 15 by now, just private tutoring, and then well over like 40 to 50 just by the volunteering through Bobby Her. All right, so there's these improvements are possible. Do the work earnestly, commit, show up to class, and make sure you're ready for this class. All right. Essay writing, this is for like college applications when you're doing your common apps, so on and so forth. If you remember me, like when during your senior year, right? Hey, Preston G, am I writing this okay? Am I on the right path to do my research, or I'm not sure about this college or this college. Can you help me out? Blah blah blah. All those things are here. Okay. Then there's this thing called academic advising, and then Neuro Optima. Academic advising is basically for you if this is not the class you're thinking of. All right. This class is, if you're not ready for this class, that's completely fine. Let's figure out what you should be spending more time on, right? If you're a student who's freshman year, right, you should probably be focusing on your grades, your GPA. You should be making sure you get that 4.0 this first year, or at least whatever with your AP class, so on and so forth, right? The highest score possible, all right? So that you don't like shoot yourself in the foot, right? And you're playing an uphill battle at the end, okay? So that's the first step. The next thing is it's also for parents, right? So again, we talked about like freshmen. That's like you got to get your GPA up. You got to figure out what clubs you want to be, right? But parents also don't have this really clear idea sometimes about what the system is, unless they've gone through the education systems themselves. Hence, if that's if you're a parent that sounds like that, or if your parents are someone like that who don't really know about the situation or don't know about the education here, and are still like pounding you for ACT, SAT, but you're definitely not ready for it, right? Um, then let's have a chat with them. I'm on your side at that point. If I also agree with you, I'm on your side, and I can convince your parents, right? Um, and I can show them here's a better way for them to get into XYZ, or a better route for them to choose, or so on and so forth, right? Um, that's something that I can help you with, all right? Um, so again, GPA, clubs you want to join, what impact do you want to make in your community, on yourself, all right? Those are the things you're thinking about when you're doing when I'm doing academic advising for freshmen and sophomores, right? This class, if you notice, I never said anything about juniors or anything like that, or like grade wise, right? But juniors are primarily like about juniors, but primarily juniors should be ready to take the ACT SAT by the time they're in this class, which is why I've expanded this out to be a year long right now. Also, personally, because it's also in person, um, as opposed to Zoom the past couple years. Um, yeah. So if you're a parent who doesn't know a lot about the situation, or if even if you do, you've just heard a lot of rumors and whatnot, you don't know what's black from white and so on and so forth. Let's have a chat. My service is for an hour long, and it's relatively inexpensive. So this is something that you could invest in to set yourself up for the next 4 years or your kids' next 4 years. All right. Last but not least, you've got Neuro Optima, and this is for me. This is personally something that I love doing because again, I talked about this idea of like learning how to learn, making it as optimal as possible, performance based, whatever. Right? I talk about all those things, and this is my way of being able to do that and apply it. Right? Everyone can go like if they don't do awareness and they just follow the trend, they can go like this. It's just a straight line. But some people, they have this ability to go like an exponential curve, right? How do they do it? They just know how to work through these things. That's where I come in. I provide that value. How do you become instead of a linear person but an exponential growth person, right? How do you become that type of person who's um, making impacts, making changes around the world, around their community, right? Um, and getting into these great colleges, getting into those things, um, doing their due diligence during the academic school year, during the summers, so on and so forth, to harness all the opportunities that are, right? There's a lot of opportunities for you guys as high schoolers, right? This is my one way to get through each and every one of them, right? Um, Yeah. So NeuroOptimal, I've had two students so far in this program, and both are started their own like nonprofits. You know, they're both going to start their own nonprofits, and yeah, they just been like, you know, like how much homework you guys get in a week, right? So how much homework, how much testing you guys do. Uh, they've basically figured that out to like 4 hours a week, 4 hours a week, right? Of just doing stuff, right? Um, of prep, studying, whatever, right? One student, in fact, is going to college as a junior right now. So we're figuring everything out, and he took classes last semester. He got A's in those classes. So that's the power of NeuroOptimal, being optimal and helping you become optimal. Um, so hopefully those are very enticing for you to maybe check out, ask more questions about, so on and so forth. Again, academic advising. If this class is not for you and you want to know what is good for me, academic advising. Let's set up an appointment. Let's get something done. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. Feel free to email me. Feel free to. I think there's going to be a WhatsApp chat that's going to be built around, so we have that going as well. Last but not least, I will have a Google form out just so we can get started with getting to know each other. And once that happens, then we're all set. We can. I'll see you next week in person for the first time. I'm super excited. Um, See you then.